how Chainsaw Man's ending was predicted years ago from the very first chapter. Chainsaw Man wasn't just a bloody, chaotic story about devils and hunters. It was a carefully planted time bomb. Every line, every frame, every relationship was leading to one explosive, heartbreaking ending. What if I told you that Tatsuki Fujimoto, the mind behind Chainsaw Man, foreshadowed everything from Denji's bond with Pochita to Makima's downfall? Let's dive into how Chainsaw Man's ending wasn't a twist of fate, but a prophecy written from the very start. It all begins with the very first page, the story of a boy and his chainsaw dog. Denji is broken, and desperate. He hunts devils to pay off his father's impossible debt, living off scraps, dreaming of jam on his bread, or even something as small as hugging a girl one day. It sounds simple, right? But that's exactly the point. Fujimoto uses that simplicity to set up everything that follows. In the opening chapter, Denji makes a contract with Pochita. He tells the tiny chainsaw devil that when he dies, Pochita can take over his body on one condition. He wants Pochita to live out his dreams. But what's incredible is that Pochita's real dream isn't power or domination. It's something heartbreakingly human. He just wants to live a normal life, to be loved, to be hugged. That one detail changes everything, because when Denji dies in that alley, torn apart by zombies, Pochita doesn't take over his body for control. He becomes Denji's heart. That's not just symbolism, it's literal foreshadowing of the ending, when Denji defeats Makima, not with hatred or revenge, but with the one thing Pochita always wanted: love, no matter how twisted it looks. Throughout Part 1, Denji's desires never really change. He doesn't want to be a hero or a god, he just wants a normal life. Food, comfort, and someone to love him. And that's exactly what makes him vulnerable. When Makima finds him, she offers all of that in exchange for obedience. She feeds him, praises him, even gives him a name, but she also calls him her dog. That's where Fujimoto's genius comes in. Every single scene where Makima pats Denji on the head or tells him "good boy" isn't just manipulation, it's a setup for her downfall. Because Makima doesn't see Denji as human. She sees him as a pet, something to control. She never truly learns who he is, never memorizes his scent, never understands his heart. And that, right there, is what kills her. When Denji finally turns on Makima, his plan isn't some grand strategy or secret technique. He simply eats her. As bizarre as that sounds, it's the ultimate inversion of their relationship. She treated him like an animal, and he ends up acting like one, but out of love. He doesn't attack her, which bypasses her contract with the Prime Minister that protected her from harm. He consumes her as an act of affection, completing the ultimate emotional paradox. Makima wanted to own Chainsaw Man's power. Denji wanted to own her heart. In the end, it was love not rage that killed the control devil. But the foreshadowing doesn't stop there. Fujimoto laced hints into every relationship and death along the way. Take Aki, for example. Early on, the future devil tells him he'll die in the worst possible way by the hands of Chainsaw Man. At first, it sounds like a cruel prophecy, but later, when Aki becomes possessed by the gun fiend, it's Denji, his own friend, who's forced to kill him. In that moment, Denji truly becomes the Chainsaw Devil. The future devil's words come true, but not in the way anyone expected. And then there's power. Her return after death was already written into the story long before it happened. Fujimoto built the idea of devils reincarnating from fear right into the narrative. When Power sacrifices herself to save Denji, giving him her blood, she says they'll meet again. And sure enough, she's reborn as a new blood devil in hell. This cycle: death, rebirth, memory connects every major moment in Chainsaw Man. It's a world where trauma never disappears, it just takes new forms. Makima dies but returns as Nayuta, a child free of her former sins. Power dies, but her bond with Denji keeps her spirit alive. Even Pochita's dream lives on through Denji's quiet, human moments: shopping, eating, petting a dog, living a life that used to be impossible. But if you want to see how deep the foreshadowing goes, just look at the symbols. One of the most haunting images in the series is the door. That door that Denji sees in his dreams, the one Pochita tells him never to open for dozens of chapters. It just sits there, taunting both Denji and the readers. And when it finally opens, it reveals the trauma Denji's been running from his murdered father, his dark past, and the truth that he's been suppressing all along. The door isn't just a memory. It's a metaphor for everything Denji's too afraid to face. It represents Pochita's hidden heart, Makima's control, and Denji's own buried humanity. From the start, Fujimoto was telling us there are parts of Denji that even he's too scared to open, and when he finally does, it destroys everything he thought he knew. Even the anime's ending sequences hide clues. One credit sequence shows Denji, Aki, and power shopping and cooking dinner together. It feels warm, even wholesome until you realize how fragile it all is. In the background, there's Makima watching from above, like a god controlling her little puppets. And at the end of the sequence, power leaps from a window. Fans now see that as a chilling premonition 6 floors, 6 feet under. Fujimoto's sense of irony is merciless. Everything in Chainsaw Man is a cycle. Love becomes control. Control becomes obsession. Death becomes rebirth. And through it all, Denji keeps chasing something simple: peace. Makima's defeat, when you look closely, was never about power. It was about misunderstanding. She saw Chainsaw Man as a weapon that erased devils from existence. She wanted to control that power to create her ideal world, but she never realized that the heart of Chainsaw Man Pochita wasn't destruction. It was connection. When Denji ate her, he didn't just kill her body, he fulfilled the paradox. Pochita's dream of being hugged became real not through warmth, but through consumption. It's grotesque, poetic, and profoundly human, because Fujimoto's story isn't about heroes or villains, it's about people so desperate to be loved that they blur the line between affection and annihilation. And that's why Chainsaw Man's ending hits harder the more you think about it. It wasn't random. It wasn't shock value. It was all right there, written years before it happened. From the door, to the dog, to the dreams. Every piece connects back to that first moment when Denji and Pochita made their deal. A devil's dream to live like a human's dream to never be alone. In the end, both dreams come true, but only through pain, and that's what makes Chainsaw Man such a masterpiece. Fujimoto didn't just tell a story about killing devils, he told a story about what it means to be human in a world that keeps chewing you up, and how sometimes love can be the most terrifying power of all. So next time you rewatch Chainsaw Man or flip through the manga, look closer. Every page, every smile, every little act of kindness, it's all part of a prophecy. Because the ending of Chainsaw Man wasn't a surprise, it was fate. And it was right there, staring us in the face, from Chapter 1.